Okay, so let's cover question 5. A student plans a method to prepare pure crystals of copper sulfate. The student's method is: add 1 spatula of calcium carbonate to dilute hydrochloric acid in a beaker. When the fizzing stops, heat the solution with a Bunsen burner until all the liquid is gone. The method contains several errors and does not produce copper sulfate crystals. Describe the improvements they should make to obtain pure crystals of copper sulfate, and it's worth 6 marks. Okay, so a slightly different way here of talking about the describe question. So student plans to make pure crystals of copper sulfate. So copper sulfate is made from sulfuric acid and a copper salt. So in this case, copper carbonate. Okay, so what have they done? Well, they've used calcium carbonate, that should have been copper, and hydrochloric acid, and that should have been sulfuric. When the fizzing stops, heat the solution with a Bunsen burner until all the liquid is gone. I think I've made this up as a 6 marker here. So in terms of this, what would they need to do? Well, it's asking you to write a method. So what could you do to improve this method? I think it's unlikely actually this question would be a 6 marker. It's more likely a 4, but we can go with 6 for now and see. So describe the improvements they should make to obtain pure crystals of copper sulfate. It's often easier just to rewrite a proper method rather than go through and try and work out what they've done that you don't like. By writing out a method how you would do it, assuming you're going to do it correctly, you would identify the mistakes anyway. So we've got 6 bullets: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just quickly show how copper sulfate is made. Well, in fact, we don't even need to do that. We've identified already that they use calcium, they should use copper. They use hydrochloric acid, they should use sulfuric acid. So what are we going to do? Well, the experiment we're going to do is we're going to have a test tube like that. We're going to put some acid in. We're going to add some carbonate. We're then going to heat it up. Until we're left with just the salt crystals there. Okay, we're going to wait for the bubbles to stop. So we're going to use lots of the bits they've talked about already. So that's a very, very sketchy diagram of what we're going to do. So the first thing we're going to measure 10 centimetres cubed of sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid. Using what? Using a measuring cylinder. Why? As it's more accurate. We're going to add 1 spatula of copper carbonate. Okay, that's all we're going to do. We're not going to worry about that. We're then going to wait for reaction to end. And what are we going to, so with what? So we're going to see when no more bubbles are released. Why? This means salt is made, or salt, or the maximum amount of salt is made. Next, we are going to heat the liquid using a Bunsen burner. Why are we doing that? So with what? Sorry, using a Bunsen burner. So heat the liquid. With what? Use a Bunsen burner. Why bother? To evaporate all the water and leave only Salt. Still got 2 more bullets. Okay, what are we going to do here? We can put safety stuff in if we want to. Okay, so ensure you wear safety goggles. Okay, so with what or why bother? To protect eyes. To protect eyes. Last thing here, still 1 more bullet left. Well, I'm going to repeat the whole experiment. Repeat entire experiment to check you did it correctly. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat the whole thing. If I ever get left with a bullet point I need to fill in for an experiment, I'm just going to repeat stuff. Okay, and repeating it improves the reliability, repeatability, because you're repeating it, you're doing the same experiment, getting the similar results. And if you're doing that, then your confidence is going to rise that you've done it correctly. Okay, so that was question 5. And in terms of the marks there, copper carbonate, you've identified that. Sulfuric acid, absolutely. I think, just glancing at it, I think they're the main sort of mistakes the student has made, but you've then written a comprehensive method that you could do and get valid results, and that's what it's all about.